My name is Clockwork, and I'll be talking about Halo Infinite and why it's a game I almost enjoy playing. Keeping to 343's publishing theme, I'll be releasing this video in two parts. This first part will be specifically about the multiplayer, while the second part will be about the campaign. Now let's take a look at why the multiplayer is such a problem. Since they got their hands on the franchise, 343 has had problems delivering the authentic Halo experience. Halo 4 was a flop, and both fans and 343 want to forget it exists. The execution of sprinting destroyed their map design and resulted in Halo feeling more like Call of Duty. Halo 5's multiplayer started out terrible, but 343 managed to pull it out of the mud and create something that was actually fun. It wasn't what some fans would call an authentic Halo experience, but it did stay true to the core mechanics, that the gun damage was balanced by range. Then they enhanced it by adding mobility that made gameplay interesting, such as making re-engaging part of the ebb and flow of combat through the use of thrusters. Since then, Infinite has returned to form and drastically reduced mobility. Sprint is standard, but any fun mobility mechanic is locked behind equipment pickup. They also changed things up and balanced guns based on niche function rather than damage and range. This has probably been the best blend between keeping the Halo experience older fans have been chasing and the modernization that 343 has been pushing for. In addition, the Golden Triangle has been achieved and gunplay isn't offensive. While this might have been the best blend, they shot themselves in the foot by going back to form. Well, they didn't just go back to form. They went back to form and changed the core structure of how the guns were balanced. My two major problems with the gunplay is that one, the niche for the niche guns either don't exist or the fast time to kill doesn't allow for them to shine. And two, true close quarters combat doesn't exist. You're either dying to melee or one shot, one punch comboing people. In my book, if you can get a one-shot kill at extreme long ranges but can't with any guns at point-blank range, then your close quarters combat doesn't exist. It's just domination by melee weapons, and while that's their job, there needs to be something to combat that, like in previous titles with the shotgun. I'll probably make a future video to deep dive into the problem with the weapons, but to leave it as an example, in prior Halos, the assault rifle was the default weapon, and was modestly average. Pepper targets at a distance with controlled bursts at long range, engage full at mid-range, and can still pick a fight at close range. Every other gun in the game was balanced around what the assault rifle couldn't do. The problem with going for niche function is that you need to build your game around that. Look at Unreal Tournament. Every gun has a main fire and an alternative fire, and the kill times are relatively similar, and every gun only does that thing, and there's rarely any overlap. In addition, there are map pickups for health and shields to continue the fight, which means that niche guns have more opportunities to express themselves. Infinite doesn't have any of that. Sure, some of the weapons have an alternative function, but most are useless in the quick fights. And the overlapping is a pandemic. For example, the Bulldog, Heatwave, and Mangler are all one-shot, one-punch kills, and all play essentially the same way, with the Heatwave being the most risk-reward out of the three. Another issue is the lack of sustaining pickups on the map. Yeah, you can regen your shields slowly, but in a fight, that doesn't really matter. It doesn't mitigate the short time to kill. I mean, hell, the Disruptor takes 2.7 seconds to kill someone in an ideal situation, while the starting pistol, the Sidekick, can kill someone in 1.1. In fact, the Sidekick is the prime example of what is wrong with the gun balance in Infinite. It has the same time to kill as the Pulse Carbine, but handles easier. 5 shots to take down shields, and 1 for headshot to kill someone. With the Sidekick as a starting weapon, there's absolutely no point with picking up any other weapon. With that being said, the gunplay for Infinite is fun, but it boils down to the Sidekick and the battle rifle, especially with the fact that 343 is nerfing guns based on the MLG player feedback. I mean, it's a hard issue to figure out how to balance. MLG players know what they're talking about, but at the same time, if you listen to MLG player feedback, you're gonna have a boring game, since it's their job to win. They aren't looking for fun, they're looking for what's most effective. In order for the game to get better for players, 343 has to stop balancing based on MLG player feedback. Another fix, and I know people hated it in Reach, but starting with equipment would fix a lot of the issues that face the niche function balancing, and make gameplay more interesting since the equipment in Infinite is properly balanced. Now, before someone asks, you'd be okay with starting with invisibility and overshield? No. Why would you start with a power up? Just because the assault rifle sucks doesn't mean everyone should start with rockets. Leave them on the map. But at least starting with basic equipment would give something like the Disruptor a chance to shine if someone escapes a fight. At its core, Infinite's gameplay is decent when it wants to work, but it's still rather shallow. My main issue is that the lack of friendly fire as a standard makes even social feel sweaty, as using terrain to balance out being outnumbered isn't an effective tactic anymore. Desyncing is still an issue as well, but with the recent update, at least the lag comp has been mostly fixed, which is nice. Another issue Infinite has is content. With making the change to free-to-play, 343 has pushed themselves into a corner with cosmetics, since that's the only way they're going to make any money. This is why we have such a terrible progression system, why the price in the shop is greedy, why the battle passes are so stingy, why the reach armors for Season 1 should have been free, but they literally can't afford to do that. Drip feeding events, daily challenges, and the bonuses we get for the first 6 matches clash directly with their statement, we want players having fun in Halo, not grind it like it's a job. And regardless of how they actually feel about us moochers of Reach, they can't be any more generous with the cosmetics if they want to make money. Though their greed comes with another problem creatively. They can only do so much with just canon armors and skins. Their attempt to make a multiplayer narrative is a sign of that desperation. Ham-fisting a weak anime isekai VR plot for Season 2 storyline. So now, they're stuck. Like, look guys, we have 4 or 5 different versions of the EVA helmet. It's not going to get better, and as much as the cat ears were laughed at, they were still one of the most bought items on the shop. So essentially, 343 either needs to double down and only do canon stuff, or take a deep dive into some strange Fortnite-esque apparel. After 6 years of development, it's disappointing that this is the state of Halo. 343 had a chance to really hit it out of the park, but it seems like the lack of cohesive direction has turned what could have been an amazing game into pedestrian at best. It has a progression system that should have been an afterthought, but instead has become center stage, and it's stingy. And they know that based on the challenge swaps they hand out. The customization is greedy, and their tactics of rarity and FOMO make it even more annoying. The gameplay itself is nothing new, only highlighted because other major FPS titles failed so miserably. And while they are taking small steps to make the game better, and Season 2 and their promise to change the armor core system is a good step, if something doesn't change significantly, I can see the lifespan of this game being finite. And all of that is to say, 343, you had one job.